Hey guys, hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm back online. We're gonna be talking a little bit about Sapo, some other types of plant and animal types of medicines or cognitive altering substances. Kind of just a bit of a placeholder episode. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about. But yeah, I kind of did like this deep dive, kind of planned, kind of unplanned, for this past holiday time off work. Just been coming across a lot of conflicting issues about the world. So, Wednesday was the last day I was at work. The last day I was scheduled at work. I'm not done with my job, but I go back on Tuesday. It's Sunday right now. Wednesday was the last day I was physically at work. I think that was the last time I had any caffeine to my awareness. I think that was also the evening that I went out after work, went to the dispensary, refilled my cannabis supply. So I spent about $105 on what are those called? These edibles that are in a form of a pill. They're, why am I blanking on the name? It's by like that Level Up Pro-Tab. So they're the Indica Pro-Tabs. I thought I hadn't had them before by the way they described them at the dispensary, but when I saw the packaging, I was like, yeah, I've recorded a whole video on my Hempication YouTube channel. I recorded a whole review on these before. So I got those. They're a little over 26 milligrams per pill. But I figure, it's one way to help me take less. I'm not really trying to cut down. It's not like that. It's just when I have stuff that's like candy flavored, sometimes I'm a little more tempted to be like, ooh, like, cherry, ooh, strawberry, and they're usually dosed smaller too, like 5 or 10 milligrams for those candy gummies. And so I wanted to just switch it up, and I got Pro Tabs because they're a little easier shareable. They're a little over 26 milligrams per. They have the kind of notch in the middle, so you can kind of dose them, cut them in half easier. And even into fourths, it's like about 7 milligrams per pill. I kind of like those better than the edibles. It has all the ingredients shown on the inside sleeve of the little cardboard box. And then so I didn't review those the second time, and then I got a Raw Garden vape cartridge. I think I ended up with a gram, even though I asked for a half a gram. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm noticing something at dispensaries. Like, I do feel a little bit rushed sometimes. I kind of almost prefer MedMen dispensary a little bit more, just because everything's out and you can shop. Like, you can look at the display cases around and look at the little tablets around, and the edibles, the cartridges, they're all kind of on the wall. Kind of like if you think of, I don't know, this is a bad example, but like, those mall stores, like when you go to get like an iPhone case, or like those mall stores, like the old stores like Sam Goody, Spencer's. I know Hot Topic still exists. Kind of like that. Think of a store like that, like Radio Shack or something, that has like a lot less. Think of a store that would have kind of like about that size, but would have a lot less products in there. But it's kind of like that, like the walls are lined and there's a couple displays in the middle and stuff, versus like having to go up to a counter and a line, and there's like a line behind you and you're just talking one-on-one with the bud tender. Sometimes I like that, but then other times it's like when it's crowded, I kind of feel rushed. I don't like asking too many questions or anything. But that's just, in the interest of time, there are a couple dispensaries where I stay in LA that I like to go to, just because traffic is so sucky, and I don't like doing the delivery. I mean, I appreciate the delivery people, but I don't really prefer it because it's an added price, and usually I have to have the cash on me. They do electronic sometimes now too, but usually it's like you gotta have cash on you, so it can be a little like I don't want to say it's too stressful, but so yeah, today I've mostly been relaxing, but my whole days off, started with that Wednesday night purchase, got a car wash, just little errands like that, so that I could just hunger down in the house for a few days. So Thursday came, I did the typical family, the traditional food spread of Thanksgiving, and practiced a lot of gratitude. But for my own comfort, that's about the extension of my Thanksgiving Day celebrating. I feel like I can practice my own gratitude, and this month of November I've dedicated to kind of researching a lot of indigenous cultural things that come my way, some YouTubers that are out there, some people who are indigenous YouTubers, or people who are YouTubers who interact with indigenous people. So I came across this Vice series of Hamilton's Pharmacopeia. And that's what I came across today. But yeah, Saturday, that's kind of, Thursday, I kind of did that with the folks, watched a little soccer. Friday, watched the U.S. soccer match. But I think Thursday and Friday, I was kind of researching a lot about North Korea, a lot about modern day slavery, a lot about FIFA, like with World Cup soccer and, soccer in general. I didn't get too far with the soccer FIFA stuff, and just some other like indigenous culture researching during the weekend. Didn't sleep too good on Saturday, or Friday night rather, because of all the weird North Korean content that I consumed. I went down this rabbit hole to a real dark place that I was like, this content is real. It was just a lot of effed up stuff, about how the people are treated. I kind of rewatched some of that Lex Friedman's interview with I think her name is Yeomai or something like that. Yeonmi. Sorry, I'm butchering it, but I know her name starts with a Y. She had escaped North Korea, and I was listening more to some of the stuff she was talking about, because I was talking with a friend about propaganda and like ideologies of countries where people kind of grow up with like certain propaganda, and I think a lot of countries have that, but I went down this rabbit hole of North Korean laborers and all this kind of stuff, and so it was pretty dark, and I wasn't able to really sleep very good. I think that was Friday night. So Saturday I woke up but didn't want to get up early, so I kind of lounged around till almost 11 a.m. Just before 11, got up, showered, and was ready to watch maybe that was Friday. I'm sorry, I'm out of it a little bit. Yeah, it was Friday I was watching that game, so it must have been Thursday night I was watching all that stuff. Friday watched the US soccer game. Saturday kind of just, I went to the gym Friday as well, and then because I was like, well, I need to get my energy to a good space, so I did have that caffeine Friday. Saturday just kind of watched a little bit of probably way too many movies, and chatted with some friends online or by phone, well, both online and by phone, different groups of people, and yeah, I was really not sure if I was going to record a lot these days off, but I was kind of like, I know my head's been like spinning and I've been rushing around so much, so I did want to kind of sit still for a few days and consume some things that matter to me, and then see where I come out on the other side of it. So I am kind of taking more effort with my consumption of products and all kinds of things that I consume. I'm using this season to kind of guide what happens during December, because I do know that during December that becomes the month of tons of consumption, and I try not to really contribute to that whole thing. It just never really resonated really too well with me. I'm excited to have a Hanukkah celebration that my friend is hosting, that I'll be going to on December 26th, and deciding what I'm going to do for Christmas Day with my actual family. And otherwise, yeah, I was just kind of coming across some stuff. So today, Sunday, I was hoping the powwows would be live this weekend, but they're not. But today, Sunday, I kind of was like, let me slow things down a little more for myself. So about every hour, and it doesn't have to be on the dot, but about every hour, I'm trying to do like meditative reflection, some breath work, some, even if it's praying, it's not really like a Sabbath or religious thing, maybe more on the spiritual end, but not from like a detail of like a religion specifically. And it's something that I'm considering doing almost every day, just because I like the way it makes me feel. Like usually when I wait until I'm feeling bad to do things like that, or until I'm having a day where I have like maybe some psilocybin, microdosing, and then that's when I'll usually choose those types of times to kind of do that. But I've kind of decided against that, and I'm also going to be doing a lot more writing, journaling, just because I know my mind's pretty non-linear and scattered, but I do kind of find myself like, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily, like, escaping. Like, one night I think Friday night, I was trying to sleep. It really wasn't working good, because of all the dark content I had consumed. It was really getting to me. And I think I started feeling better Saturday when I woke up, and I was like, the reason why I'm feeling bad is because I don't have a solution. And I was like, this problem is like so much bigger than me. So naturally, it's something this big. Naturally, I would be inclined to do nothing. But then I was like, I can control what I consume. I can slow it down and look at it in more detail. And I'm going to record some more episodes along the lines of all that stuff. But for now, that's why I said this is almost like a placeholder. And maybe not. I mean, I don't want to say placeholder because it makes it almost assumes that, like, I don't find this episode to be important, which is not accurate. I do find it to be important. But anyways, this morning I was watching psych ed. I don't know if it's psyched substance or psych ed substance. And he was talking about mescaline. But I think he was saying, like, the hydrochloric mescaline, the synthesized one. And I really want to study that more. Like, a lot of these synthetic things, as well as just cannabis in general, has really made me really want to get into, like, chemistry. Like, I'm not trying to go, like, way off track to some other field, and, like, but I feel like, I like to dive into the stuff that I already consume, right? It's like, well, if I'm already playing guitar, why not dive into more details about it, right? Or if I'm already, vaping cannabis concentrates, why not dive into more about that? Little by little. Like, I'm not going to spend, like, hours and hours and hours of every single day, like, consuming that kind of information. But it's like, for me, it's important, so I like to consume it, or look for it or search for it, and, like, know more details about the stuff that I do on the day-to-day. To me, that's becoming a more important thing, to kind of learn about it instead of just going through the motions. Like, I think I started from a side of, like, going through the motions of most things in life, school, work, how I hang out, where I hang out, but not really diving into, like, okay, why do I choose to hang out with these people? Why am I avoiding to go to this specific event? Why am I, choosing to go out for drinks? Or why am I choosing to spend Amazon Prime money on this? Or, why? Like, why? Like, why am I doing these things? Like, not in a bad way, but just, like, to look more at what I'm doing. Because I feel like I've spent, like, decades probably not really understanding or really diving into it. And usually it's because I'm usually in life just speeding so much through the day. And I think there was a time for that. I think there was a time for me to do that in my early learning years, early in my career and stuff. There was a time for that method. But I do agree with a friend that I was talking to that, we've kind of paid our dues. And I'm not saying I'm quite quitting or not going to work hard and stuff. But, I think it should be fine every hour to be able to take those breaks if that's what I want, if that's what I need. I think, paying more attention to my own mind and body versus like, oh, the boss needs this. Oh, a client needs this. It's like, okay, I know what you guys need, but it's like, you can wait 5 minutes. Like, most of the things we deal with at this current job isn't even urgent, like immediate. Like, if it is urgent and immediate, they shouldn't really be contacting us about it. We're not the psychiatrists. We're not the emergency response. And if we need to get those people involved, we can get them involved. But it's like, why tell us and wait for us to be available versus just calling those options immediately? Like, I just try to make sure they can do what they need to do, and not being a crisis center, because we're not a crisis center. So I don't even want to, get into that habit. And as for, so what I was consuming after that substance mescaline episode, I came into this 3-episode Vice series by Hamilton's Pharmacopeia, and he was on a journey to take Sapo. So he ended up taking Sapo and then ayahuasca. That he brewed the ayahuasca himself, and he'd done it before. The Sapo he scraped. So the way that they did it was, they had to wait for the frogs. They say that the frog that they need, usually you can hear it at night, or like when there's rain, it kind of comes around. And they can be even up in like the top of the tree. So they went to one village. They had to leave because Funai was coming. And they left. It was a village that it looked like it was between Peru, Brazil, and Colombia. And they basically scraped the secretions off the frog's back after they found it. Like, there was a shaman that had helped find the frog and left it in one of the bushes. So basically what they do, and I'm just talking basics of what I noticed. I don't know the details. I don't know the dosage information. It's still a new idea to me, and it's something that I would be interested to try, but I don't know if I would go to South America to an indigenous tribe to do a ceremony. I'm not at that point right now. The only thing I could see myself doing is maybe something in Mexico, or preferably on the U.S. side of the border, with some indigenous person that has knowledge. It feels like, at least I have nothing against different people of different cultures and different places, but it's like, I don't travel enough to even know like what to even think about as far as like safety measures, things with your stomach, headaches, eating, digestion, like all kinds of stuff like that. That I don't really know how I would do with it. So it's something in the back of my mind, but it's probably not something I'm gonna do like anytime like this week or anytime soon. But if the opportunity arises, without me even searching for it, then I would take that more so as a sign to be more involved with it. Right now, I have more aims towards getting a place so I can grow cannabis plants. That's kind of more what I feel more called towards. And I'm a lot more well-versed in that kind of thing, as well as maybe getting some spores for like psilocybin. That's another thing that I would maybe consider doing, things that I could immediately legally do in my own home area, and learn more about it that way. But yeah, Hamilton's Pharmacopeia, that channel really kind of inspired me to get back into like journal writing, diary journal writing. I don't know. I don't really like to call. I don't know. I've always had a weird idea about the difference between journals and diaries. Like diaries to me seem more like a private thing. I already keep like different notebooks basically. I keep one that's for finances, so I'm usually reviewing my finances on Sunday, but this time I did it Friday night, even though I kind of don't tend to touch money situations on Friday nights, but it's something, I was a little stoned and that's what I wanted to do, so I did it. I just have a little bit more math to do. And then I have one for podcast ideas, one that's kind of more, that I would consider more personal. Another one, I'm looking right at them right now. Another one that's just for like weekly entries of like when I do a weigh-in, and just like which days that I exercise or go to the gym kind of thing, just so I can see it all written out. And then the one I probably write in the most is kind of just like tracking podcast posts and tracking, study days. It's like it's kind of a bit of a tech journal. And then I do have some stuff I write online. I'm not talking about blogs, but I have like a document that I add to online. That's kind of more personal too. Like I've mentioned before, kind of how I get like these kind of like thoughts or memories or whatever you want to call it, especially paired with like insomnia. And I kind of write those down. I started writing them down, and I have noticed a decrease. Like I do have a different relationship with those kind of thoughts lately, but who knows? But yeah, so in Hamilton's Pharmacopeia, basically they scraped the secretions off the back of the frog. They had it kind of tied up gently by, it had a couple two posts, and they had the frog just kind of tied. Before that, it was like walking around. It came off. They got it off that bush where the shaman had left the frog, and they so it was like there. It was, it didn't seem to run away. It was walking on Hamilton's back, like on his hair, on his hand. He mentioned that he felt like a slight sensation. He wasn't sure if it was like a placebo or not, but he did mention feeling it after it had walked on his hand, and it kind of was going on his shoulder, on his back, on his hair, and it would jump off and go onto the boat captain's arms, shoulders. It would just walk around on people's bodies or be like on the deck, because the houses were like raised up, and it looked like there was river water. Parts of the river were really, really high up to like the tops of some of the trees and above. And so yeah. And so basically that's what, like, it seemed friendly, it seemed okay. When they had it tied to the stakes, they were just having it tied there so that I guess it would secrete more of that I don't know if it's considered a poison or whatever the substance is that it secretes off of its back, and they just scraped it with like a stick. It didn't look like it was in any pain. It didn't look like it caused it any pain. It didn't look distressed. As far as movements or making noises or anything, like, so I don't really know. And they kept it there for a while. So the captain did a ceremony. He took 3 at once. He did 3 burns. They did 3 burns on his arm while he sat. Was he sitting or standing? I think he was standing initially. He did the 3 burns. The reason why they do the burn is because it opens up a wound, and then I don't know if there's any significance. There might be, and if there is, I'm missing all of it because I don't know. I'm just talking what I saw in the video. So he did this. They burned a stick, a thin stick, narrow, not sharp, but they just found a stick like on the ground. Caught it on fire, kind of like you would do like an incense, like a stick of incense. They burned 3 small places in his, like near his shoulder, and then with they scraped some of the sapo off of the stick that they had scraped it from the frog, and the whole time the frog was still there tied. They scraped that onto the wounds, the 3 wounds. So he mentioned feeling a little dizzy, a little lightheaded, and he had to sit down. He sat down with his head in his hands for a little bit, and then he kind of jumped as if swimming into the water. He said it helped to take away some of the effects. And then next, Hamilton tried it. He initially tried 2 burns. He said it was like more of a euphoric sensation. Then he tried a 3rd burn, during which they rubbed more sapo into the first 2 wounds, and then into the 3rd wound they rubbed some in there. And then he did a 4th burn, and they rubbed some into the 4th one. And so he did seem significantly more impacted by the 4th one, but by the 3rd one seemed maybe similar to how the captain was reacting. And it seemed to last maybe a total of 6 hours or so. And part of it, he was laying on the outside. There was a boat that was upside down on land, just like a small rowboat looking thing, and he was laying on the back of that boat, on like a plastic tarp, kind of head covered, and there was somebody the whole time fanning the insects kind of away from him, because the place seemed to have a whole lot of mosquitoes and flies and things that were bothering him the whole time he was there. I think it seems like he was there almost like a week total, because the trip in took 3 days anyways, and I think they stayed 1 or 2 days in the initial place where they couldn't find the frog, and then the second place, I think the second day they found the frog. So yeah, they basically had everything kind of like Hamilton was kind of recovering, and then he made the ayahuasca tea, I think the next day. I remember him mentioning he took some Ritalin because he felt like crap when he woke up, to get his energy kind of going. But I think, okay, so I think once he took the Sapo, they left. He was a little ill as far as, like, once he got the fourth one, they were already on their boat ride back to the hotel area, which was, like, I think 3 hours away. It was 3 hours or 3 days, I can't remember. But he was, like, he got, I guess, some diarrhea or intestinal kind of issue and had to kind of take a number two off the side of the boat. And, like, I think they kept going in the water, and then like in the boat, like traveling in the water, and then they eventually got to the hotel. I think that's when he brewed it must have been days later. And so he brewed the ayahuasca. He took some of the vines and some of the leaves that they got separately. They got the vines separately from the leaves, because I guess you need the vines from the ayahuasca plant, as well as a certain type of other plant that has DMT properties. And but I from what it sounds like, and don't hold me to this, from what it sounds like, I'm still learning, but it sounds like there's different types of plants you can use. Like, there's a variety, but one of them was considered the gold standard, and there are other types of plants that have, like, DMT. And then basically he was able to brew the tea. It sounded like it took about 2 hours separately, boiling or maybe slow boiling the vines in a separate pot from the leaves. So he cut up the leaves. I didn't see what he did to the vines, but he was using the hotel kitchen for some time, it sounded like, and it seemed like the tea tasted terrible. But he had quite a few sips of it. I couldn't tell how much he had, or he didn't mention how strong it was or what. He mentioned having what he said were, like, apocalyptic type dreams. And then he had those types of leaves and that dreams. Then he mentioned some other things that I didn't really know much about, that are other types of plant medicines and animal medicines, like giraffe bone marrow in Sudan that's got hypnotic effects. There's a sea sponge in the Caribbean that has sedative effects. There are dreamfish in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know if that's the name of the fish, or if they are fish that impact your dream states. There's silkworms in China that are considered narcotics. And then, he mentioned there are other synthetics. So I think there were 2 times where he did take Ritalin during that trip, during the whole video series of his approximately week long or so trip. The first time he took Ritalin, it seemed like he was just, like, in the hammock waking up, before he had had any of the Sapo. And then the second time he took Ritalin, it seemed like he was let's see. So I'm reading my notes. The second time he took Ritalin, it was after he took the ayahuasca. And he was trying to kind of like get his energy up from that. So, yeah, that's kind of where I've been. So more to come. A lot of this stuff I've written notes about, all the other topics I talked about in the very lengthy intro, and I'll be recording about a lot of the stuff that I learned about during this past weekend, and I hope it's interesting. I know I sound like my energy's super low, like I've done some amounts of vaping, and so that's probably why. I did have some cacao earlier, but that was like, I don't know, probably close to 11. But I'm gonna upload this, and then you'll see some more uploads afterwards. And as usual, thanks for listening.